Most young U.S. adults are financially dependent on their parents. So let's see what this article has to say. Who is this written by? CBS News. Oh, okay, there's a video. Oh, hold on. Pause. I'll watch it here in a second. Young adults in the U.S. are experiencing a very different trajectory than their parents, with more of them hitting key milestones later in life and also taking on more debt, according to a new report from the Pew Research Center. A majority of young adults say they remain financially dependent on their parents to some extent, such as receiving help paying for everything from rent to their mobile phone bills. Only about 45% of 18 to 34-year-olds describe themselves as completely financially independent from their parents, the study found. So 55% of people 18 to 34 are dependent on their parents on some extent. Be help from paying their cell phone bill, gas, groceries, even rent. I unfortunately know people in their 30s who depend on their parents for rent, and I don't know how I feel about that. It's just like they also don't have to drive to move up in their careers or make more money. They're kind of happy coasting that way, though. So it's hard to say. Like, I hate it when older generations say work harder. But at the same time, there are people who just don't want to work. And they're around my age or young 30s. Like, if there's a 3 in front of your age, 30, 31, 32, like, you should be kind of picked up in your career by now. Not surprisingly, the younger members of the group, those 18 to 24, are the most likely to rely on their parents for financial support. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree with that. They're just brand new as adults. They're probably that's college age. So yeah, they probably need help from their parents. You know, they have the only jobs available to them are crummy jobs. They don't pay much, right? But, you know, they're there to get experience. With more than half relying on their parents to help take care of basic household expenses, but a significant share of 30 to 34-year-olds also need assistance, with almost 1 in 5 saying their parents provide aid for their household bills. I need help with rent. I need help with groceries. I need furniture. I need internet. I need a cell phone. I need a new computer. 30, 34. That's rough, man. Like, you depend on your parents. How are you going to keep growing as an adult? Are you going to have kids one day? And your parents going to help you with your own kids? Like, it's crazy. Like, there's a point where, as an adult, you have to be self-sufficient and take care of those you love. Not the other way around. Your parents are not going to be around forever. Okay, let's watch this video. Full screen this. Take off caption.
Some younger Americans say they feel left behind by the U.S. economy. That's according to new reporting from Bankrate. According to the survey, 38% of Gen Z and millennials say they have a harder time growing their financial wealth compared to their parents at the same age. And 24% of Gen X and baby boomers say they have it harder than their parents did. All right, here to discuss is Sarah Foster. She's an analyst at Bankrate, and she wrote this article. Wait, Sarah.
Why are you saying it like that?
Well, because, okay, first of all, yes, I'm a Gen Xer. We definitely...
I see when older generations just laugh, go, ha, 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 they can't figure it out. Well, first of all, who raised Gen Z and millennials? And it's not always about working harder. Yes, it's about working smarter. You also have to work harder for yourself, not for another person. That's a big misconception. We keep hearing about work harder, work harder. Don't work harder for other people. Don't work harder for another company. Work harder for yourself. Gain a new skill, new ability to make money. Like, figure out a way to work harder for yourself so you can earn more. But aside of that, I hate the condescending tones we keep hearing from Gen X and baby boomers. Because it's just like they fail to understand that, like, everything around us got more expensive. Except their mortgage, right? Their rent, it's the same. And when you have the same mortgage payment from 15 years ago, it's so little compared to what it is now. I know people who have mortgage payments that range between $600 to $1,200 a month. I mean, they got it a long time ago, but they're living in the same house. They have no plans to move. But imagine if that was what your rent was, or your mortgage. You have so much more expendable income. However, people have to use more of their income to pay the bills and rent.
Had it harder than the baby boomers. But you can't tell me that the baby boomers...
Wait,
saying it like that.
Well, because, okay, first of all, yes, I'm a Gen Xer. We definitely had it harder than the baby boomers. But you can't tell me that the baby boomers, whose parents fought in World War II and survived the Great Depression, that they had it harder. In fact,
that's subjective. Did Gen X have it harder than baby boomers? Baby boomers still had Vietnam War, Korean War, other uncertainties. They almost had runaway inflation in the 70s. So I don't think it's right to just compare generations. Well, things are always different. And that difference is a new challenge of like accumulating wealth. And in order to get wealth, you have to get assets. And that's what a real challenge for young generations is to get assets.
Theory has always been, the theory has always been that the baby boomers, those born in the years after World War II up until the mid-1960s, did tremendously well. They're the ones like running the country now, and that the lives that they led with everything from the GI Bill, when their fathers, the baby boomers, came back, when their fathers from the Greatest Generation came back from fighting in World War I, to job opportunities, to redlining that prevented African Americans from having opportunities that were afforded to everyone else, led to this great boom of talent and money and wealth. And subsequent generations, each generation afterwards, has not done as well. So Gen X didn't do as well as baby boomers. Of course, it stands to reason Gen Z is not doing as well as we did.
So what are you saying? Quit your complaining?
A little bit.
Okay.
No,
why do young people feel this way?
Well, it's just, I mean, I can only insinuate that everything after World War II, things started booming, right? Government needed war bonds. We need to manufacture everything for the war effort. Things were finally moving, finally getting out of that Great Depression. And then, boom, the World War II ended. United States is thriving. It's known as a world power. People were able to start thriving. You could just be someone who works at a fast food restaurant and be able to afford a mortgage back in the 50s. There's so much that could have been done. And then, all you needed was just a blue collar job and you could just have the American dream, no problem. But of course, when there's a demand in something, prices go up. So every American wants a house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath at least, with a yard, backyard. And because there's a demand for that, the prices go up. And now we're at a point where I know people who are getting the residencies with their doctorates struggling to afford a house now. So it's getting really crazy and getting out of control really fast.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me in the studio. I think exactly this point was also evident in our survey. We saw that generations, no matter what age group you were, most of them agreed that they felt like they had it harder building wealth in the economy. Mm-hmm. Of course, the data shows that Gen Z and millennials are feeling that to a greater extent, but even Gen Xers and baby boomers were more likely to say that they felt like they were having a harder time. And what I think is kind of going on here is, it's inherently vulnerable being young because you're getting your life started, you're building your finances still. And so there's something that puts you in a little bit of a tough position to grow wealth. And I think the usual suspects of economic barriers are at play here. Cost of living concerns, housing affordability, but even in my research, some other ones that I didn't think of, the decline in pensions, having to kind of support yourself on your own in retirement, as well as, this idea that company loyalty isn't as common anymore with these devastating back-to-back recessions.
But there are some.
She had a lot of great points. First, it's just how everything's expensive. Rent, food, everything around us this day and age is expensive. So imagine just being like 25, you finally have like a great career after college. It pays $50,000 a year to start. That used to be awesome money not too long ago. 5 years ago, maybe, at least 5 to 10 years ago, $50,000 a year was great money. Now it's just kind of like nothing. You could barely afford rent with that now. However, you go to any job posting, that's like the most common pay, if not cheaper, $40,000 to $50,000 a year. So it's with that kind of money, it's hard to pay rent, pay your bills, Pay for everything you need. Emergency stuff happens all the time. And you need that extra money to build wealth. Buy assets. Build wealth. Buy some stocks or something, build wealth. But you can't when you're just living paycheck to paycheck. All you're doing is just getting by. All of your money goes to just trying to live.
Who say no, they actually feel like it's easier for them to generate wealth.
Right.
Are they all like successful influencers? Who are these people?
I think what is interesting is that younger Americans.
Hold on. It's easier to generate wealth. Are you kidding me after what I just said? No, it's not. There's more tools. I'll agree to that. It's easy to just invest right away from your cell phone. But first, you need that extra cash. And influencers is like the next big thing people want to look up to become wealthy, right? It's like how it was to look up like movie stars and rock stars. Yes, it's still prevalent today, but now social media and influencers, whatever they're called, that's like the new thing people want to strive for to become famous and not work anymore. I'm going to go back a bit.
I think what is interesting is that younger Americans are taking steps in the right direction to help their finances. We're seeing that some of the key differences of, 28% of younger Americans say that they're having to take alternative steps to build their wealth. Those key differences are prioritizing their careers, prioritizing retirement savings. Even researchers at the St. Louis Fed kind of point to this inherent interest that younger Americans are showing in investing. My kind of first hunch here was, these alternative steps, what are these? Are these potentially risky steps that younger Americans are taking?
I worry that now younger generations are going to invest and then they're going to lose their money with the next crash, panic, and sell for a loss. Or older generations are going to just take advantage and just short whatever the younger generation is trying to accumulate wealth in.
Like maybe getting caught up in get-rich-quick schemes on Bitcoin.
But
Actually, no.
Well, to me though, and I feel for this generation because not only are they dealing with the soul-crushing debt that they incur from attending college, which is what we told them to do, right? We told them to go to college, and that leads to better outcomes. The system is inherently, as you point out, gamed against younger people. So perhaps what they need to do, is there a way for them to think about how to react and behave that is different from generations that came before?
I think
when it comes to money.
I think what's important is something that we found in our survey too is recognizing that younger generations say that they feel like they have a harder time building wealth than their parents, but the money advice that they learn often comes from their families.
Exactly.
And so a big risk actually that kind of...
That's a good point. What worked for their parents before does not necessarily mean it's going to work in today. Like however you invest today is probably not going to work the same way it did when their parents were first getting involved in investing.
Have popped up in our research is that maybe actually that traditional path to buying wealth, home ownership, that could be a little bit risky if you do this too early in your life, especially at a time of low inventory, high prices, high mortgage rates. I think I would love to really communicate to younger Americans that this misconception that you have to be a homeowner first before you grow your wealth, it's not the path. You can take steps right now to achieve financial wealth in the future. The path, the journey might be a little bit different than it looked for older generations, but the destination is the same.
Yeah, because
getting a house now is very difficult for young people. Dealing with high interest rates and high home prices. It drives me crazy when older generations said, we had 18% interest rates. Okay, but what was the price of your house back then? It's 4 times cheaper. And it's really frustrating when they bring that up. You can't compare that.
it's baby boomers who came up with that whole BS American dream owning house, right? They're the ones who came up with it.
It's not BS. It worked for them.
Right, but what Sarah's saying is it doesn't necessarily work now for younger people because there are so many, and the economy is not geared towards younger people. And it is, if the baby boomers are still running things, how do you think they're going to game the economy? To benefit them,
completely,
not Gen Z.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how he said it. It worked for them. Like I said, it didn't matter, like 18% interest rate. They bought the house for just over $100,000. And over time, when interest rates go down, they can refinance. And then the monthly home payment is way cheaper. And now they have more expendable income that they can use to invest or run a business or anything with it. They feel richer. They're able to do more with their money. Now, we have both high interest rates, yet not as high as 18%, but the pace of how expensive a house got, astronomical. Can't even keep up. It is way too out there. All right, I'm going to read some comments here. Parents are going to do whatever they want when it comes to their own kids. Helping your children is one thing, but having them become dependent is another. That's a good point. Yeah, you're giving them a little assistance, a little push. I think we're all in favor of that. It's okay if it helps them progress. But it's a problem when they depend on you. Hey, my rent is due, help me out. Hey, my rent is due, help me out. Next month, hey, pay my rent. Because then it gets to the point where like, hey, where's my money? Hey, I need my money now. Younger adults need to understand your parents are not going to be there forever. They're going to die before you. And what are you going to do? How are you going to take care of yourself? If you don't know how to manage money, the only thing you know is asking for money. What are you going to do if you inherit all their money? They're probably going to end up blowing it in 1 week. Vacations, whatever, buy stuff they don't understand. Buy a huge house. They don't understand the property taxes. They don't understand what the homeowner's insurance is going to be like or anything. It's like those people who win the lottery and become broke right away because they don't know how to handle money. They don't know how to deal with it, how to hold on to it, stretch it as far as possible. It's such a weird and uniquely American thing to just leave your family home when you turn 18 or graduate school. It doesn't really make any sense. I thought the idea of family was to create generational wealth. Well, before the generational wealth, it is a little weird that, I wouldn't say weird, it's just part of the American culture that as soon as you're like 18 or a young adult, you just get out of the house. A lot of times, a lot of people just want out of the house and have their freedom away from their parents. And I get that. And it's in our culture that people start feeling embarrassed that they still live with their parents as a young adult. And I don't think they should be. I know I felt embarrassed and I moved out when I was 19. But those are times that like you're an adult now. You finally have a full-time job. This is your money. And if you want to go live on your own, understand this is what it's going to cost. Run down some numbers. This is what rent's going to cost. You can expect your electric bill to be this, your internet's going to be this, your water's going to be this, gas maybe, this is what insurance is going to be like, and run down the numbers. And be like, can you afford it? No, of course not. It's your first job. It's not going to pay you that much. So the next step is how do you progress? How do you develop new skills? How do you become smarter? Or do you stick with this job and get promoted? Or do you learn skills from this job and do it on your own? Start your own business. So many young adults at 18 just go out in the world clueless. And it takes them years to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. And by the time they figure it out, they're like knee deep in debt and they're trying to pay off that debt. 18 to 24-year-olds are often college or trade school students. Of course, they're somewhat dependent on family. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, it's just, I think that's okay. Just trying to go out in the world and figure it out. And then at a point be like, okay, I need to be able to pay this bill on my own, not my parents. But I think that's the big one, right? A lot of people don't want to pay those bills anymore. They're happy that their parents are paying for it. No, there needs to be a cutoff point. Life is so expensive now. Young people like myself have had to choose between 1, having a family and being stressed, cash strapped all the time, or 2, remaining single, childless, and having the ability to enjoy life at least a little bit. It's sad but true. A lot of us, like myself, young, grew up really poor. And growing up poor, it stressed out my parents so much. I don't want to be in that situation. And, it's what causing our millennials and Gen Z to delay a lot of things, like start a family, because they're really focused on the career to the point where they want to feel comfortable enough to start a family without being so stressed about cash, losing money, losing the house, getting kicked out of the place you live, get evicted. I mean, emergency happens and, you miss out on one paycheck, you're done. You can't, the whole struggles of having children, right? Kids are expensive. So yeah, it makes sense why a lot of people are delaying having families and whatnot because it's just so expensive. And they don't want to raise their kids in a poor environment. That stress is not fun. It's not good at all. But I think I want to leave it there. Feel free to comment below. I do read them. I want to know what you guys have to say or think. And hit the like button and please subscribe. Until the next time. Bye.